is a show where I have conversations with inspirational leaders, influencers, and change makers. People that aren't just doing well in life, but that are doing good in the world. And this is a conversation not just with me and my guests, but also with you. So feel free to ask questions along the way, make comments, and we will make sure that we address them. If not during the show, after the show, we will definitely address them. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. And thank you for sharing this video. We are streaming both live on Facebook and YouTube. So you can share the YouTube link if someone doesn't have Facebook. So again, thank you very much for being here. Today, I have the distinct pleasure and honor of bringing yet another friend of mine from my Tony Robbins family. I met Vicente several years ago, probably 10 years ago or better. And one of the fascinating things, aside from him being a spectacular businessman, and he's an author, he's a radio show host, he's a speaker and an NLP trainer. He works also for the RI for the Tony Robbins organization. But one of the most interesting things is he is the Tony Robbins voice. So if you have the Unleash the Power Within book, Vicente is the voice of Tony Robbins in Spanish. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you, bring him on screen. Here he is, Mr. La Voz himself, Mr. Vicente Passariello. How are you, my friend?
Yes.
So good to see you, brother.
Please, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for the opportunity to enjoy your show that I see in the afternoons. You bring such an amazing people that raise my bar today, the things that I'm going to speak, because you have such an amazing guests in your show that I'm super lucky to be with you in this moment. And yes, it's around 10 years ago that we met, and you are one of the best trainer that the organization has, and I always has the pleasure to speak with you for transformation. So I'm an honor to be with you in your program.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And you said that I always have spectacular guests. Well, let me just tell you and everyone else that today is no different.
Thank you.
Amazing things in the world. I know I see your podcast. You do them in Spanish, and my Spanish has gotten better and better over the years. I've spoken Spanish as a third language for many years. But I always, it's funny, we've had this conversation. The biggest challenge that I've had over the years is translating the personal development lingo, right? Because it's a different language that we speak, right? So to translate the words for them to make sense, sometimes the word that's spoken isn't the word that needs to be said to explain it and for people to understand it in Spanish. And it was one of the most painful experiences I had with that, which is probably around the time that I met you. Do you know Enemed? Enemed, he's actually a blind Olympian that was at Date with Destiny a few years ago. And at the time I was a senior leader, so I was charged, because I speak Spanish, again, as a third language, to translate for him. And I think I speak Spanish pretty well, but when you have to translate personal development, when you have to translate Tony Robbins in Spanish, boy, it was a whole new world. So I have grown leaps and bounds because of it. And oddly enough, I actually was on the phone with Enemed today. I hadn't spoken to him for a while, and he's actually going to be my guest on Friday. So it's going to be great to see him again.
Tell me about it. When I did the translation for Unlimited Get the Edge in Spanish, Espanol is 3 times bigger than English. So maybe you say a word in English and you need 3 words in Spanish to translate that. And
right.
When I did that, my goal was, what are the emotions that Tony is using at that moment? And that's my goal when I did the translation. It's not only translate because Google Translate. It's translate with a purpose. It's translate with a meaning. It's translate with what Tony Robbins wants at the moment for the transformation. So was a challenge, very difficult challenge. But after 7 weeks that I traveled to Las Vegas, working Monday to Friday, and around 200 hours of recording, we get the Unlimited Get the Edge in Spanish. That was an amazing product, and I feel so honored to be part of that.
Yeah, amazing. It is amazing because, like you said, sometimes you have to say 3 words to explain one,
Yes.
and Tony doesn't speak very slowly on audio
No.
or right. So listen, I admire you for that, and because of that, I just call him whenever I see him, I just call him the voice, La Voz,
La voz.
La Voz. So that's fascinating. So tell us a little bit about you. Where are you from originally? Where in South America?
Sure. I born in Venezuela long time ago, and I came to United States in 1996 for November 4th of 1996. I came to United States because I want to learn English. I traveled from Miami to Boston and I studied for 4 months in Babson College. And but my life changed completely because at that time in Venezuela, I was a well-known model, and I did a lot of commercials and posters and runaways. And I started doing my first steps in television. And I have also a model agency. And I have the model agency in a part on a situation in Venezuela that we have some political situation that at that time start to growing up for socialism and these different times that we have right now. So the owner of the advertising company where I have my model agency told me, listen, I'm in Venezuela is going to be 1 year or 2 years is going to be very difficult. The guy was a millionaire guy, and he told me, listen, I need help in the United States. You know a little bit of English. Why wouldn't go to Boston and stay 1 year over there? I take care of the expenses. You take care of your food, and we learn English. And I said to the first answer for him was, no, you're crazy. I have a contract with a television channel here. I have my girlfriend. I have my model agency. I say no. But Tony, that night I couldn't sleep. My brain was thinking because at the end of the day, I always want to be in the United States. So the next day I say yes, and that yes bring me a lot of problems, my friend. With my girlfriend, with the company, everything turns upside down. But my manager told me, "What you're gonna do in Miami? You're gonna wash cars. You're gonna, be as a waiter, serving food." But I say, no, maybe I have opportunity to do something. So I traveled and I came here to United States, and everything start getting the way that I'm doing right now.
So when did you start working? That's amazing. Like I said, I always appreciate the immigrant story because I'm an immigrant as well. I came to this country from Europe, from Portugal when I was 6. So I understand the plight of the immigrant. I also understand that there's something that's got to be done, and immigration is a hot button issue that we're not going to get into today. But I think that the system, is the way it's just being mishandled. I think that the rules that are in place are not bad. Anyway, we're not going to get into it today, but yeah, it definitely needs to be addressed. But right now we've got bigger issues, right?
Yes.
But tell me how did you come to work with Tony? Because when I met you originally, you weren't working for Tony, or you weren't working for Robbins Research.
Well, I as my manager told me after I went down from Boston, I don't have any money. I have $400, $500 only, and I rent a room. My cousin at that time has a rent a car, and I start washing cars and helping him in the rent a car, helping him everything. After 3 months, I was the general manager of a branch in Miami Beach, but something happened. The business went upside down, and the business closed. So I was in the apartment of a rental, and I started changing the channels at 3 a.m. in the afternoon, and I saw a big face talking to me, and that was Tony Robbins. I read Tony Robbins in Venezuela in 1992, The name is Controle su Destino. Unlimited Power is the name of the book. And funny, because at that time I wrote a check that said 3,000 Bolivares, and I said Tony Robbins, because something inside of me knows that I'm going to work with the organization. So I saw the infomercial at 3 a.m. in the morning. I called the next day. A lady, marvelous lady, answered the phone, and she told me that the ticket is $800. And I buy also the audiobook for Unlimited Get the Edge, that more or less 15 years after I did it in Spanish. And when I get the audiobooks, it's a ticket that say Tony Robbins Live, $200 off. So I deal with the lady. I say $100 is a lot of money for me, and she insists to go to the event. So I went to the event in 2002 in Miami. And when I went to the event, my life changed completely. Completely. I start crewing the organization from 2002 to 2007 and 2015. I grew the organization. I did the Mastery University. I did Business Mastery. 15 years after, I work with a rent-a-car. I start doing a rent-a-car. I just sold it in last year, but I went to Business Mastery. I have 2 cars, and I bring my business from 2 cars to 60 in 2 years. I bring from in 1 year to 2 cars from 2 to 30 cars in 1 year, after the techniques that I learned in Business Mastery. So my life changed completely, and I asked the president of the organization, or in that case the director of sales, to give me an opportunity to do something in Spanish. So after 4 years, my friend, sending emails, calling every day or almost every day, sending gift, send whatever I have in my brain to send, they give me the chance to speak with this amazing lady, and she gave me the opportunity to have with her 7 minutes. But this is super funny, Tony, because meet me in New York, and when I went to New York and I can't meet her. Meet me in Las Vegas. I went to Las Vegas, I can't meet her. The last time, meet me in Orlando, and that is the magic occurs when I was in Orlando. She told me, I don't have the thing that you wanted at this moment, but maybe I have some product for you to do it. I don't receive any notice of the product since 1 year after that meeting. And I did the voice, and then they allow me to be in the organization as a PRS, or personal results specialist. And my focus, of course, is with Latino or Spanish speaker community that I'm growing every day. We beat record, Tony. In Miami, we had more or less 1,700 Spanish speakers in the stadium. That never happened. Huh?
I was there. Registration was interesting.
Very interesting. Yes, that was amazing. And I felt I feel so good, because I want this knowledge from Tony, which is the best in the world, to our community. And now we have the possibility that I didn't have it when I did it in 2002, to have translation and to understand, because the book is in Spanish too. So this is a new era for the organization. So I'm super blessed to be part of that.
Yeah, without a doubt. And with that said, I did an interview for Bolivia, 3 weeks ago. So in Spanish. So I've been, I've done one in Ecuador. So I'm now actually going beyond and actually also having these conversations in Spanish, which again has forced me to grow beyond my comfort zone. But I'm happy to do it now, because now I've gotten that muscle, because I've been practicing it. Listen, it's an amazing story of perseverance. It's an amazing story of resilience. It's an amazing story of not giving up. It's an amazing story of falling down and getting back up again. Hence the name of the show, Get Up and Grow, and growing through what you go through. So it's a fascinating story. And if anybody, so many times people look at someone who was able to accomplish something and says, "Oh my God, you're so lucky that that happened." But they don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know the 4 years that you had to chase. They don't know the three flights and the 3 states that you had to go to. They don't know the year that you had to wait. They don't know the 200 hours that you had to record. You know, it's always easy to look at someone that's successful or is doing something that you haven't done and say, "Look how easy that is." You know, again, this is something I've been saying for the last couple of days, especially. You know, the man at the top of the mountain didn't land there. He climbed, and your climb, what sounds is an interesting climb, which is one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here, because there's so many people that are struggling right now. There's a ton of people that are struggling, not just people that and again, it's not just immigrants, it's everyone at this point. You know, everyone is fighting a battle, right? Everyone is having a struggle with their business, with their job, and whatever it is. That's why these stories of perseverance, these stories of resiliency, these stories of overcoming the odds and going against the norm and going against what people thought. Hell, you had a good life in Venezuela and you walked away from it in search of something greater, right?
And let me tell you, be an artist, an actor, and be in front of the cameras. Sometimes I smash the ego when I clean a car or vacuum a car, but I was the best of the best doing that. And that was an amazing opportunity to grow in my life, because as I told you, I was super famous, and I say that in a humble way. I did all the commercial that I have in the market. I was all the time in screens and working. I work a lot as a model, and I start doing as an actor. And then you can come from there, and then you go and wash cars, and people treat you the different way because you give the car to a client, and you know, people change that perspective. But if I allow me to share 3 distinction stories that that shape my soul in this journey that I have in the beginning of my life in the United States. If we have the time, I would love to share with you these stories. They are small stories, but I assume, and I think the people that is going to see this video, they are going to love these stories.
Well, listen, we'll definitely get into them because it's so important. I tell people all the time that your story is not it's your story, but it's not yours to keep. It's yours to share. And your story specifically, not only are people going to enjoy them, but it's going to shed some light and give people hope and opportunity, and know that they too can do it. As David Meerman Scott says, you too can have similar results.
That's
right?
correct.
You've heard that line a lot. And one of the things I love that line. One of the things that you say, and it reminds me of a quote. Again, I say a lot of quotes. Is one that I had read, and I forget who said it, so I can't give credit to it. But only those who risk going too far will ever know how far they can go.
That's correct.
And you risked, man. You were living life. You were an actor. You were a model. You had contracts. You were living the life. You were famous, and then you came here and you watched cars. And you know what? You're not the only one. I know people who were attorneys in Brazil, who were attorneys in Venezuela, who were attorneys in different countries, and they come here. They immigrated here in search of a better life, of a different life, and they find themselves being a housekeeper. They find themselves working construction. You know, and it's one hell of a drop. And you know, and I try to tell people, I said, listen, we have to respect everyone, because you don't know. Everyone you meet knows something you don't. And you never know who it is that you're talking to. So you got to treat everybody with respect. So it doesn't matter if it's the person that's mowing the lawn or the person that's, pouring the coffee or serving your food. You never know. You never know. You know, and to that point, you know, there's people that inevitably, even with you, you know, you still have a heavy accent. I don't, right? Well, I have a New York, New Jersey accent, but whatever.
Attitude, New York attitude.
And then there's that I will not deny that at all. And, you know, but there's sometimes people criticize people for having an accent. And I always, you know, and I've heard this before and I say it all the time. It says, at least they speak a different language. How many languages do, you know, the people that are usually criticizing are the ones that don't speak another language. And, you know, so I encourage everyone to just, again, listen, everybody, we're all human. And you know what's happened in this current situation, I like to call it a situation, is that it's really leveled the playing field forever. Not leveled the playing field necessarily, but it's humanized everyone, because this is a situation that is affecting everyone.
That's correct. Right? That's correct.
Hey, Carlos and Maya, I'll tell you a quick story. So he says it was T.S. Eliot. You're absolutely right. It was T.S. Eliot. Thank you, Carlos. Carlos actually, and I told you that I did a podcast in Spanish, and it was on Carlos's podcast that we started off in real estate, and I ended up in personal development. I said, look, I don't know how well this is going to go, but it went swimmingly, as they say. So thanks, Carlos, for that. Matter of fact, I'm going to need you to send me that recording again, because I don't know what happened to it, because I need to share it with someone. With that said, tell us a couple of your stories, man, because again, this is how we learn. This is how we grow. The way the history has been passed down from generation to generation before the written word was all in stories and in pictures and everything else. And it's still my preferred method of learning is by reading stories and hearing stories and much more than reading them. Actually, I like hearing the stories and experiencing them. So share some stories with us, enlighten us as to part of your journey, because again, another quote that my wife pointed out, your journey up the mountain, or the journal that you wrote in, your diary, the journal you wrote in of the journey up the mountain, could be someone else's survival guide.
Completely. That's the beauty of the stories. There are plenty of such an information, a value information, and if you use it in the right way, the correct way, of course they can inspire people to do something different in their life. And one of these stories that I'm going to share with you, and thank you for the opportunity to allow me to do that, is at the beginning of my journey here in the United States. I was 1994, but my car was 1983, and they don't have air conditioner. And I'm a really good uniting people. I'm super good in in relationship and connecting with people. So at that time, I connect one investor company or an investment guy who wants to invest money to two chefs from Peru, and we decided to do a restaurant in Miami Beach in Lincoln Road. So I didn't know anything about restaurants. I didn't know anything about food, but I say, well, I have a participation in the company. I'm gonna earn money with the tips that the people give to us, because at the beginning we don't have any money. We start building the restaurant in the middle of the construction of the new Lincoln Road. So at the beginning was really, really bad. We don't have the money. We need to finish ourselves the restaurants. But we opened the doors, and I always was really good doing smoothies and cappuccinos. Before the Starbucks, they put the whipped cream. We did that in Venezuela many years ago. So I was the person in the bar. I bring wines, beer, cappuccinos, and a smoothie, and some cakes. One day, one friend of mine, which is a super successful producer in New York, his name is Miguel Urdaneta. He has that H2O Films company in New York. He sit with me, and we open a beer and start talking. And he told me, he always called me Vicentico. And he told me, Vicentico, what are you doing here? And I was so happy to have him here with me. And I start explaining him what I'm doing. I serve wine, beer, cappuccino. I say, no. What are you doing here? And I say, what do you mean? He told me, and I have in my book, Sin Máscara, that part of my life, because that changed completely my life. I said, what do you mean? He said, what are you doing here? You are looking for the pennies in the floor, but the bills of $100 bill is passing through your head. But you can't see it because you are focused on the pennies. And something happened to me, happened to me when I make the decision to come to United States. Is I couldn't sleep that night. And the next day, I spoke with my partner and I say, I'm leaving the restaurant. I want to give up my shares. And he told me, I don't have money to pay you. And say, I'm going to give you as a gift. That day, that was one of my happiest days in my life. I don't have any money, but I know that focus on something different is going to bring me different situations. Lucky for me, I had a soap opera that was aired in the United States at a moment, and Univision called me to do with the biggest program on Saturdays, called it Sábado Gigante, work with one of the guys that I respect in my life, that his name is Don Francisco. And I work with that.
That's how I learned how to speak Spanish, by the way, was watching Univision. So, you know.
Well, I worked for him 6 months. My car was 1983, and they were looking for me or pick up me by a limousine. And everything changed because I started looking for something different. I focused my life instead of the pennies, literally on the penny in the floor. If I see a penny, I pick up the penny because I don't have any money. At the first day that they put me a parking ticket in my car, I cry next to the car for the $18 that I have to pay. And they put me more because I parked my car in Lincoln Road in Miami Beach. But I know that I can go and complain with the ticket with the judge. And I went many times. The judge told me, are you here again? And I said, yes, I don't have any money, but I bring you food, I bring you a cake. I have a relationship with the judge. Is amazing situation that happened to me. So that changed my life. And Tony, and you know that, they say all the time, if we are going to ask questions in our life, we need to ask, the first question is, where I'm going to focus my focus going to be. And that's changed completely my life, because I changed everything, not only because I'm looking for the $100 bill, but it changed my way of thinking, my way of walking, my way of talking, my way of looking for relationship around me, changed everything. Because that distinction that my friend gave me to me, that was a gift. I don't take care about the money that I lost or doesn't use in the restaurant. I'm looking for the opportunity that I have in my life. The second story, if I can share with you, back to back, if you have any question, let me know.
No, I love it. I love it.
Is this one. I run marathon or half marathons since 2011 was my first one. I went to Miami Marathon, half marathon, without being registered, just, trying to do it to see what happened. That was a painful experience for me after 4.5 hours of walking and, running a little bit and walking, and was crazy. I can't get up from the toilet for 1 week because I don't have any legs. It's crazy. My legs was destroyed. But give me the gift of enjoy the half marathon. So after that, I decided to do half marathons in a year, 2, 3, 4. I'm doing 13 half marathon per year now. I run a marathon every week. Even though I have next to my home, I run 26 miles every week. But let me to tell you what happened on the second destination is, I for no reason, I went to the half marathon of the Marines in Virginia. I went for 4 years in a row. That half marathon gave me something that I learned over there, which is the strength, the discipline, the values, and the race of the standards of the Marines. This half marathon have 3 hills. The last hill is in the mile 12. So your tongue is in the floor. And you couldn't believe these guys full throttle with all the gear, everything, the backpack, the fossil, or the flag, running, passing through you. So in the mile 12, I was, my brain, as always do, is, tell me bad words. What are you doing here? You are crazy. You do this again. You are in pain, a lot of pain, your legs, and start trying to convince me to stop and relax. But something happened that changed completely my life. So when I start going in the hill, I'm looking to the floor, telling me all that stuff. And then I saw a black boots. And when I raise my side, I see a Marine, a black Marine, like a I don't know, like a Arnold Schwarzenegger, 2 meters. At that half marathon, I have a shirt, red shirt that says Marines. And the Marines look at me like, what happened to you, no? And he screamed to me and say, move your feet, soldier. And something happened inside of me that I forgot all the pain, and I start running the hill until I get to the 13.1 and I receive the medal. And I understand at that moment that motivation is emotional. Motivation is the emotion that you have to do something. That's the motivation stuff. People think that has to be motivated. The only thing that you need to find out is a compelling reason to go after your dream. And that Marine gave me that when he told me, move your feet, soldier, in a strong voice with something that impact my soul, that I forgot anything, and I have a kick of energy to run to the 30 mile. We need a compelling future to get whatever we want to get. And if you can motivate yourself, look your family, look the people that you're working on, look for the people that you inspire, and that has to be your fuel, your gasoline, to keep moving forward all the time. As a Sylvester Stallone say, life is not sunshine and rainbows. Life is mean. I can beat you to the floor every time if you allow to do it. But the winners is not how many times you can get up or resist the punch. The winners on the leaders or the gladiators is how many times you can get up and keep moving forward.
That's it.
And that was the gift of that Marine. I have it in my heart. And I use that technique when I run half marathons. In the mile 12, well, for me is the wall. You have a wall, and my wall is on my brick is in the mile 12. My brain starts telling me stupid things. They trying to convince me to stop. And I remember the words of the Marine, move your feet, soldier. I felt like he kicked my butt to move. And I did it, my friend.
That's awesome.
It's super awesome. And the third story, and I conclude, and I'm so grateful that you allow me to do this.
No, please.
Happened also in after the Marines half marathon when I have to drove from from Fredericksburg to Dulles Airport. I always go to Arlington Cemetery. I respect so many the military and the codes that they have, that I went to the Arlington Cemetery to see the perfection and also to see the change of guard that they have
amazing.
to honor the unknown tomb soldier. Is a tradition that this country have for many years, 360 years a day, raining, sun, or snow. these two army soldiers, they do the 21 steps and they change the guard. But something happened in that changed completely my life. And I use it in my events all the time that I have the opportunity to do. The thing is that one of the soldiers do the 21 step and the other come to receive the arm to be honored, to be the soldier to guard the unknown tomb. Before that, they tell each other, hello, my name is Sergeant Smith, and now I'm gonna present to you the arms to you be now the guard to keep the eye on the, or honor the unknown the soldier to guard the unknown tomb. And he asked a question that changed completely my life. The question was, do you understand what I said? And the other soldier said, yes, sir, yes. And they give you the arm. So we believe with all our heart that a communication is a person, a message, and a person to read or hear the message. That's what's used in the old times. Now is a person to give you the message that you understand. Now that is a communication. Now that is a proactive communication. So every time we deal with customers, with clients, with family, with kids, we need to understand that we can say something, but they understand something completely different. Because statistics say that the content of the word in the communication is 7%, the inflection is 38%, and the physiology is 55%. And we doesn't take care of that, and we need to change the way we communicate. And that, my friend Tony, helped me a lot. Every time that I speak with my kids, even though I did an event with Disney, how Disney works, I bend myself to the eye to her. My kids are 8 years old, and I deliver the message. And after I deliver the message, I always ask them, do you understand what I say? Do I have to tell you in a different way? Do you understand what are my goals in this moment? And if they say yes, now we have a communication. In the other way, we have only an expression. And that is lack of relationship, in a lack of selling a product or talking to a client or talking to a friend, because people hear what they want to hear. But you need to be sure, like the guard express at the moment they give you the arm, they ask, do you understand what I said? Thank you, brother. These three things changed my life.
That's brilliant, because so many times, we're misunderstood because the people perhaps didn't actually understand what it was that you said to them, and they're embarrassed to ask or whatever it is, and then the message doesn't get delivered and it doesn't happen, and then you're upset, that person gets upset. So yeah, communication is everything, and that's nowhere more important than in your relationships with your kids and with your spouse and with your significant other. And I know that, listen, communication is everything. I sometimes say things to my kids and they don't understand, and I didn't ask, and then there's confusion. So it's so important. That's a great lesson. The changing of the guard thing, it's powerful. I've been there twice, and it is absolutely amazing. I remember reading a story about this not long ago. I don't know when it happened, but there was a mistake that happened once during the changing of the guard, and the soldier dropped the weapon, and the saber went right through his boot and went through his foot. But they had to complete the changing of the guard. So the soldier that was injured turned and continued to do the march until a replacement came for him with a hole in his foot and bleeding, and left a blood mark, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That's commitment, man. because they do it rain, shine, snowstorm, whatever. They're there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's hail. It doesn't matter if it's a blizzard. It doesn't matter if it's 110 degrees out. They're there. So this soldier, somehow something happened that the bayonet, I should say, not the saber, the bayonet from the front of the gun went through his foot. And then he stayed and he did his, and then they had to go get someone to relieve him, because the soldier that was there also needed to be relieved, because I can't imagine what it's like to just do that with that precision for that long. So they had to get another soldier, but until they came to replace him, he did his thing. And so, yeah, that's dedication, it's commitment. And, you know, yeah, I absolutely respect and admire that as well. And every time I get an opportunity to go to Washington, I definitely go there as well. So yeah, those are great stories, man. And we need to continue to share them. I know they're in your book, and they're there to inspire people. They're there to help people, because to help people be able to grow through what they go through, right? And you said it the best, you know, Sylvester Stallone says, nothing's going to hit as hard as life. Nothing will hit you as hard as life. And it's going to keep hitting you. It's going to keep hitting you. You got to keep getting up. And if you stay down, it's going to be right there to keep you down. It's up to you to step up. Yes. And you got to get up, because life is not, and this is the way I end my show. Life is not about how many times you fall. It's about how many times you get up.
That's correct.
I don't think moving forward, but it's about getting up and keep moving forward. Go after your dreams. Go after what it is that you want, because you've got to believe in your goals and you've got to believe in your dreams more than anyone else. No one else can believe in your goals and dreams more than you. And if they do, then you're not dreaming. Your dreams aren't really yours. You're still dreaming somebody else's dreams. You know, one of the things that is so true is the reason most people don't achieve their dreams is because they're busy following their dreams. And I say this all the time: people need to stop following their dreams. That's bullshit. Why are we following our dreams? We need to chase them down. We need to run after them. We need to hunt them down and catch them, not just follow them. Because if you're following them, by implication, you're never going to catch them. You're just following them. So you're always a couple of steps behind. I don't want to follow my dreams. I'm not a stalker, right? I want to chase them down and catch them and make them mine, right? And when I catch them, I want to have some more dreams that I've got to go chase, because that's the way that life goes, right? It's about, you know, growing. It's about continuing to grow and evolve. And man, I'm proud of you for what you've been able to accomplish in the years that you've been here. I give a lot of credit to you and to people that are able to succeed, especially at a high level, because it does take a significant amount of work. It is harder, you know, because the deck is stacked against you. It's a bigger challenge. And I'll tell you, you know, you say it's about picking up the pennies. I got to be honest with you. If I see a penny on the ground, I still pick it up. That's just the way I was brought up. $1 ain't $1 if it's only 99 cents. And I'm not saying I'm going around looking for pennies. You know, there's a saying that goes, pennies from heaven, right? It's pennies from heaven. If you see something, you know, it's just something that is just part of how I grew up.
That's perfect. But keep your focus only to looking for pennies.
No.
Life is going to give you whatever you want.
Listen, you got to look up.
Yeah.
Look up.
The opportunities.
Looking down, there's nothing down there for you to see. The only thing, listen, there's nothing down there. Listen, the only time you should look down is if you've got to pick something up, or, you know, as a matter of fact, it reminds me of the quote that says the only time you should look down at somebody is when you're helping them up, right? Just like the only time you should look back is out of reference, because you're going forward. You're not going backwards, right? You're going up. You're not going down. You've got to focus on where it is that you want to go, not what the obstacle is in front of you. And most of the time, people focus on the obstacle. People focus on what's in front of them and stopping them. They focus on the challenge, not the outcome. They focus on the challenge, not the solution. And if we're only focusing on the challenge, we're only focusing on the problem, then we're not going to be able to find the solution. Because most of the time when we're focusing on the problem, we're using the same thought processes that created that problem or that led to that, right? So you've got to think a different way. And many times the way to think a different way is by getting a mentor, is by hiring a strategist, hiring a coach, having somebody else. being surrounded, getting a mastermind group, being surrounded, with people that are like-minded and like-hearted and that are driving you to where you need to go. I was on a podcast this morning with a mutual friend. You probably know Yeliz. You know Yeliz from Turkey?
Yes.
Okay, so I was on with her today earlier, and I said to her the same thing that I'm going to say now. The people that we're surrounded by, right? We hear it as, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
That's
right.
correct.
If you spend time with people that are making $60,000 a year, you're going to be the 5th. You spend time with 4 people that are making $200,000 a year, you'll eventually be the 5th. They're making $1 million, you'll eventually be the 5th, right? So it's important to surround yourself with the people that you want. That's not to say that you walk away from people that aren't doing what you want to do. That's not what I'm saying, even though sometimes that's what you need to do. I'm saying that you need to add people to your circle that are going to inspire you, to lift you higher. And if the people that are in your circle, the people that are in your group and that you're spending the most amount of time with, if they're not inspiring you to be better, to do better, if they're not encouraging you to go after your dreams, if they're not encouraging you to step outside of your comfort zone and do more than what you're doing and push you past your comfort zone, then you don't have a circle. You've got a cage.
Completely.
Right?
Because you have the result of the expectation of that peer group.
Absolutely.
So eventually you get over there because the expectations are high. Eventually you go over there. The expectation is low. Eventually you are going to go lower.
Listen, and that goes for anything, whether you play basketball or whether you shoot pool or whether you play golf. If you're playing with someone that is below your level, do you play very well? You play well enough to beat them. You play better than them, but are you playing your best game? Guarantee the answer is no. The only time you play your best game is when you're playing with people that are challenging you, when you're playing with people that are better than you, when you're playing with people that are at a level that's higher than you are, because they're going to demand that you step up to meet them. Again, even as simple as shooting pool and playing a game of pool or playing a game of basketball or anything else, whatever that game is, when you're playing with someone that's playing at a higher level, your game picks up. You become a better player. You become a better runner because you were running with the Marines. Right? Because if you were with the Marines, you wouldn't have had that experience. You wouldn't have pushed. If you were running with 3 other guys, like, oh my God, me too, I'm dying, dude. I got to stop. I can't. The pain. I got to stop. You know what? Okay, I'll stop for just a second with you, and before you know it, you don't finish the damn race.
That's correct. That's right. Correct. That's correct.
So, and that's not to say that you don't have someone that needs your assistance and that you're not helping bring them along. That's not saying that you leave that person behind. You try to bring them with you, right? You try to bring them with you as much as possible. But if somebody's refusing to go, if somebody's refusing to move, then maybe it's time for you to finish the race and come back later and see how they're doing.
Well, right? That's a military strategy. If you want to slow down a convoy, you need to hit one of the tanks in that convoy. You don't need to destroy it. You need to put it slower, and then you slow all the convoy after that, because they want to help them. If they destroy the convoy, the others going to keep the same pace. It's a military strategy. So it's the same like happened with your friends or the person that's around you. You don't need to, if you want to keep moving forward and go faster, if you think your group put you slower, you need to cut that group, because either way they are going to drag you down like a military convoy. They are going to drag you down, not because they are bad people, they are because they are the ways of thinking. So you need to be surrounded with people better than you in something in your life that you're going to want to grow up.
That's it. Listen, you're speaking my language, brother. That's exactly right.
I wish. I honor you, my friend. You are a role model.
Listen, we're all learning from each other, man. We're all teachers and we're all students.
Yes.
So we all have we all have the opportunities to learn, and we all have the opportunities to share and teach. And, I'm learning things every day. I tell, one of the things I say is everyone you meet, I said it earlier in the conversation, everyone you meet knows something that you don't. I've had some of the most fascinating conversations with people that had I not engaged them, because, maybe they just weren't doing what I thought, but had I not engaged them, I wouldn't have learned about the fascinating story, or I wouldn't have learned a fascinating fact, or, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised what some of the people that are out there doing. Listen, there's people out there that are driving for Uber. As an example, I've got a friend of mine that very, very wealthy man that has a very successful company. And I was with him some time ago, and he says, Tony, I think I'm going to start driving for Uber. I said, what? He says, I think I'm going to start driving for Uber. I said, why the hell? Nothing against Uber drivers, but I said, why the hell are you going to be driving for Uber? He's got a really nice car. He's like, well, I've got a nice car, and he was divorced, and he was having, and this is brilliant. And this is why I'm saying you never know who you're talking to. He decided to do that because he was having a hard time meeting a woman that, because every time they meet him, what do you do? And then he tell him what he does. And before you know it, it's really all about the dollar signs. It's all about, what he does and who he is, and, and everything else. And so he hated that, because that's not who he is. He's not a person that flaunts what he's got to do. He says, so I'm going to start driving for Uber because it's a nice car. So chances are I'm going to pick up, I'm going to pick up, some interesting people anyway, whatever. And he said, this way I get to talk to people. I like to talk to people anyway. So I get to meet people and exchange conversations. And sometimes I'm giving them business advice, and like, who the hell is this guy? And other times he's just meeting people. Now, he doesn't do this full time. He doesn't do this all the time. But when he's bored, or, he has an hour or two, he does that. And he says, because this way, if I meet a woman that seems interesting, the conversation may lead somewhere. And then I'll know that, that if the woman decides that she's going to go out for coffee with me or whatever, then I'll know that the intent is not because of who I am, what I do, and how much money I have. So you never know. Listen, moral of that story is there's a guy worth $100 million driving for Uber. Okay. So you never know who you're going to meet. I'll give you another story. This is another brilliant story, because I talk to the Uber drivers all the time. Obviously, I travel a fair amount, as well as you do, with the Tony Robbins and with other events that I did. I was coming back from a business mastery event, and I was going to the airport, and there was a woman. The woman that was driving was, I asked, how you doing? And it happened to be a shared ride, and I didn't even know it was a shared ride, but it was a shared ride. And we're driving to the airport. It was about a half-hour ride. And I engage her, and what does she do? And, how do you like driving for Uber? Or Lyft, or whatever it was. That's one of the questions I ask all the time. She's like, I hate it, which I don't usually get. Oh, I hate it. I said, so why are you doing it? Well, because, I make custom jewelry, but I need to make enough money to be able to buy the material and equipment to be able to make my jewelry. I said, okay. Well, what kind of jewelry? Maybe, one thing led to another. And then I started saying, well, have you considered scaling, because you can only do so much jewelry? Oh, no, I've got to do it all myself. I'm all about quality, this and that. Well, you'll never be able to scale to a certain level. And if you're doing that, and she goes on to say, well, no, I'm never going to be one of those people selling to big chain stores and this and that. So why are you doing what you're doing? Oh, because this is my goal. I want to donate to this charity. I want to create this. There's this medical problem that is underfunded. I said, so I started, again, engaging her and saying that, it's like she's against capitalism. She's against making money, but she needs money to do this. So I'm having this conversation with her, right? I'm having like this intense business, conversation with her. And I know that I'm like just racking her brain. And the woman next to me, and I said, so you've got to make a decision. Sometimes you've got to let go control. And the woman next to me finally speaks. She says, you are so right. You are so right. The minute I gave up control and I let someone else take over some of the responsibilities, I went from having 2 7-Elevens to 122 7-Elevens.
Wow.
Okay. And I'm like, wait, what? Right? And you wouldn't have known anything about who the woman was. So it was fascinating. So then Yeah, it's fascinating. And again, this is why I talk to people, because you never know who you meet, right? And here she is. I did the shared ride for whatever, and here she is in a shared ride, and she could afford to buy the goddamn car or taking a helicopter. She's listen. If you sell out from 122 7-Elevens, it doesn't matter how poorly they're doing; they're still doing pretty damn well, right?
That's correct.
So we're having this conversation, and the woman is just like, the driver's just like, her eyes are starting to rock around in her head. But I think we made an impact on her. But I say that just because the moral of the story is you never know who you're talking to. So be kind to everyone. And everyone's got something to share. Everyone's got knowledge to share with you. And just because they don't look the way the way you think that they should look, because they don't sound the way that you think that they should sound like, because they have an accent, because they're wearing a hat backwards, because they're wearing whatever, stop with that, because you just never know. Listen, I've made some of my best friendships that I have still today. It was a happenstance conversation that then I get surprised with what's happening or what comes together, or a year and a half later, I get a call with this or that. You just never know. That's why I tell people all the time, just be kind. Be kind. There's no reason to be an ass, right? There's no reason to be anything but kind, because you never know who you're dealing with. Maybe you're dealing with someone that's not a good person. Maybe you're dealing with someone that's a great person. Maybe you're just dealing with someone that is going through something so traumatic that they don't even know how to deal with what's going on in their life. So just be kind.
Sure. They be maybe harsh with another people, because, as you know, the six necessities that we have as a human beings, they're looking for certainty and they're looking for big significance. But at the end of the day, every human beings have a story to tell, has the situations. Everybody, even though the person that you met on the street, they have something to share with you that you can be amazed of the story that people has.
That's it. So we're coming up on the hour, and as much as I'd like to continue this conversation, because God knows I've got more stories to share, and there's like one more that's like,
me too.
But again, I want to be respectful, and these things keep running over an hour. And when they run over an hour, I feel bad with the people that need to go, whether it's to take care of their families or whatever it is. So, so I'm going to give it to you for the last thought. What's something that you want to leave this crowd with? And of course, tell us where people can find you, because I want people to be able to do that. Tell us what you're up to, real quickly as we wrap up the hour's last thoughts. What people can do. I'm putting up your website right now, so people can find you on the web, VicentePassariello.com. So you can look him up there, and same thing on Instagram is just his name, VicentePassariello.com, just as you see spelled here. So follow him. He's doing great stuff. And look, I'm honored to have you in my category of friends. So I honor and respect what you're doing and how you're showing up in the world. And thank you so much for sharing your story, and your story of struggle, of overcoming, of survival, of grit, of victory. And I wish you many more victories and many more years of success moving forward, my brother. So with that said, give us your last word. What's your last thought? Final thought, not last. Final thought for today.
Yeah, simple. Be yourself all the time. And people ask me when I do coaching, what are my goals in my life? What are my dreams? And I told the people is whatever you do for free at the beginning, that's the thing that you need to follow and to grab, because that's your mission. That's the thing that you have in your heart. So follow your heart, follow your bliss, working hard, you know that. But also take every failure in your life as a great opportunity to be better and to grow and to shape your soul. That's the most important thing that I learned from my past experience, my difficult experience, and the ones that I'm going to have in the future. is everything shaped my soul. And be grateful, my friend. Be grateful. I'm super grateful to be with you. I honor you. I respect you. You are an amazing trainer. I saw you a couple of times doing intervention, and you are an amazing trainer. You're an amazing soul, amazing person. I'm super honored to be with you in this opportunity and this window. My book, Sin Máscara, is in Spanish for now. The next step is going to be audiobook, and the name is Sin Máscara, la verdad sobre la motivación, because I think thinking positive is not enough. You need also a strategy, techniques, and something else. And my social media is @Vicente Passariello. Vicente Passariello is with 2 S and 2 L. And you can find me over there. And if you have any question, I'm going to be more than blessed to assist you. Also, I'm working as a personal resource specialist at the Tony Robbins organization. And I do events for NLP that I studied with one of the greatest NLP trainer, which is Richard Bandler, Dr. Richard Bandler. And my radio show is every Sunday at 1 o'clock in a radio station in Miami, call it Actualidad 1040 AM. And I have that radio show for 11 years already. And
Wow.
we talk about motivation.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So listen, so follow him, Vicente Passariello on Instagram, VicentePassariello.com to look him up. And listen, with your book, you should have Tony Robbins translated into English. I'm just saying, I mean, one good turn deserves another.
Yes.
Maybe you can translate yours.
that coming.
Oh, that'd be funny, right? So listen, with that said, my friends, listen, I really appreciate you. By the way, one of the things that I want to offer you as well, obviously everybody knows that I'm a high performance life and business strategist. And if you don't, you certainly know now. I do some one-on-one strategy sessions and also do group sessions. And one of the things that I've got to offer, you can go onto this website, yblsnow.com. That's Your Best Life Strategists now.com, yblsnow.com. I am doing, we're holding free masterminds this month. And not this month, for the next 2 months. So every other weekend for 4 weekends, for 4 Sundays. And we're inviting people. It's going to be open. It's going to be an open session. So go on to yblsnow.com, check it out. 4 o'clock Eastern on Sundays. It's 1 hour long sessions with myself and 2 other trainers, oddly enough. So I invite you to come and hang out with us as well. It's great to have you, my friend. So with that said, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for participating and asking questions. And remember, my friends, that life is not about how many times you fall. It's about getting up after every fall. If you fall down 7 times, you get up 8. And every single time you fall, you learn. And when you grow, when you get up, you grow. And every single time we fall, we have the opportunity to get up and grow we must. Appreciate all of you. Thank you for being here. Tomorrow, by the way, is episode 100. I'm doing episode 100 tomorrow. It's going to be a little bit of a different format. It's going to be me, and I'm going to be bringing past guests to come on just to say hello. So it should be a good time tomorrow. Join us at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 3 o'clock p.m. Pacific. Join us. It's going to be a great time. We're going to be sharing some thoughts. We're going to be sharing some inspiration and some laughs. So with that said, thank you again, Vicente. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
For all of you, thank you for being here. And I will see you tomorrow. Ciao for now.
Say yes.